An extensive body of gerontological research indicates that reaching the age of 80 marks a significant developmental stage, characterized by 5 universal, non-pathological shifts in human experience. These transformations are not medical conditions to be managed, but rather profound adaptations in our biological, social, and psychological systems. Understanding these shifts is not merely an intellectual exercise. It provides a strategic framework for navigating this unique life chapter with intention and maximizing one's quality of life. This analysis will deconstruct these 5 inevitable transformations, moving beyond anecdotal observation to explore the underlying scientific principles. We will examine critical changes in physiological rhythms, social dynamics, temporal perception, cognitive function, and personal identity. The 5th and final shift in particular represents a culmination of these processes, often leading to a state of psychological liberation that is one of the most underappreciated aspects of advanced age. By comprehending the roadmap of this decade, one can better anticipate its challenges and harness its remarkable opportunities for growth and fulfillment. 1. The biorhythmic realignment, energy and sleep architecture, the phenomenon. The first universal shift is a fundamental realignment of the body's energy and sleep patterns. This is frequently misinterpreted as chronic fatigue or insomnia, leading to unnecessary frustration. In reality, it is the body's natural adaptation to a new, highly efficient operational rhythm. Energy levels typically peak in the morning and early afternoon, followed by a more pronounced dip in the mid-afternoon than was experienced in previous decades. The underlying science: this transformation is governed by the brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus, which controls the circadian rhythm. According to research from the Stanford Center for Sleep Sciences and Medicine, the sensitivity of this internal clock to light cues changes with age, causing a phase advance. This means the body is biologically programmed to enter a sleep state earlier in the evening, e.g. 8 to 9 p.m., and awaken earlier in the morning, e.g. 5 to 6 a.m. Furthermore, sleep architecture itself evolves. A 2024 study in the Journal of Sleep Research confirms that octogenarians spend a greater proportion of the night in lighter sleep stages, stages 1 and 2, and less time in deep, slow-wave sleep, stage 3. While this may lead to more frequent awakenings, it is a normal, adaptive pattern, not necessarily a sign of poor sleep. Strategic adaptation. Consider the case of a retired educator in her early 80s who initially struggled with this change, viewing her inability to stay awake past 9 p.m. as a sign of decline. After consulting with a gerontologist, she redesigned her daily schedule. High-energy activities such as exercise, correspondence, and cognitively demanding tasks were scheduled for the morning. Social engagements were planned for the early afternoon, followed by a guilt-free 20-minute rest period to accommodate the natural energy dip. By ceasing to fight her body's new rhythm and instead optimizing her life around it, she reported a significant increase in both productivity and overall life satisfaction. The key is to view this biorhythmic shift not as a limitation, but as a new schedule for peak efficiency. 2. The social refinement, quality over quantity, the phenomenon. The second transformation involves a significant evolution of one's social world. This is characterized by a natural pruning of the social network, where superficial relationships tend to fade, while a core group of emotionally significant connections deepens in meaning and intensity. This is not a passive process of loss, but an active, albeit often subconscious, process of social optimization. The underlying science. This phenomenon is expertly explained by the socio-emotional selectivity theory, SST, developed by Stanford psychologist Laura L. Carstensen. SST posits that as an individual's time perspective becomes more limited, their motivational priorities shift, When time is perceived as expansive, as in youth, the focus is on knowledge acquisition and network building. When time is perceived as finite, the focus shifts to emotionally meaningful goals and experiences. The brain, therefore, guides individuals to invest their limited social energy in relationships that provide the greatest emotional reward, support, and positivity. Strategic adaptation. A longitudinal study participant, a former business executive in his 80s, experienced distress when his large network of professional acquaintances began to dissolve. However, he concurrently found himself investing more time in a small group of new friends from a local volunteer organization and deepening his relationship with his adult children. These new relationships, built on shared purpose and genuine emotional resonance rather than shared history, provided him with a level of support and fulfillment that his previous, larger network lacked. Navigating this stage successfully involves consciously accepting that not all relationships are meant to be permanent and actively cultivating those connections that provide genuine emotional sustenance. It is an upgrade in social quality, not a decline in social life. With the temporal shift redefining priorities and time, the phenomenon. The third profound shift is a revolutionary transformation in one's relationship with time itself. For octogenarians, the psychological orientation to time shifts from a perspective of time since birth to one of time left to live. This alters the very foundation of personal priorities, leading to a dramatic reduction in concern for social expectations and a heightened focus on activities that provide intrinsic satisfaction. The underlying science, as detailed in research published in Psychology and Aging, this time perspective shift is a powerful psychological driver. It leads to the positivity effect, a cognitive bias where individuals are more likely to remember and pay attention to positive rather than negative information. This cognitive filter helps maximize emotional well-being. The fear of social judgment and the need to keep up appearances become less potent motivators. Decisions are less likely to be based on long-term instrumental goals and more likely to be based on immediate emotional fulfillment. Strategic adaptation. A case study documented a woman of 83 who, after decades of service on various community boards, resigned from all positions that felt like obligations. She reallocated that time and energy to her lifelong passion for horticulture. While her family initially expressed concern about her withdrawal, she reported feeling more purposeful and engaged than she had in years. This demonstrates a masterful reallocation of the finite resource of time toward activities with high personal meaning. To embrace this shift, one must practice a form of intentional non-compliance with external pressures that do not align with internal values, thereby liberating energy for what truly matters. 4. The cognitive reorganization. The ascent of crystallized wisdom, the phenomenon. The fourth change concerns memory and cognitive processing. While there is a natural and well-documented decline in certain cognitive functions, this is not a story of simple deterioration. It is a sophisticated reorganization where the brain trades processing speed for profound insight. The underlying science. This is best understood through the lens of fluid versus crystallized intelligence. Fluid intelligence, which includes processing speed, short-term memory recall, and the ability to solve novel problems, tends to peak in early adulthood and decline thereafter. However, crystallized intelligence, the accumulation of knowledge, facts, skills, and experience over a lifetime, continues to grow. Research from the Max Planck Institute for Human Development highlights that in the 8th decade, the brain becomes highly specialized in pattern recognition. It can draw upon a vast database of life experience to see connections, understand context, and make wise decisions that elude younger, faster, but less experienced minds. Strategic adaptation. A retired engineer in his mid-80s noted his frustration with a declining ability to memorize new technical data, a fluid intelligence task. However, he discovered an enhanced ability to solve complex systemic problems by recognizing deep-seated patterns that his younger colleagues missed. His brain had optimized for wisdom over raw data processing. The effective strategy is to externalize fluid intelligence tasks, using notes, calendars, and lists for daily details, to free up cognitive resources for leveraging one's peak crystallized intelligence. This means engaging in roles that require mentorship, strategic thinking, and wisdom-based problem-solving. 5. The culmination. Emergence of profound authenticity and freedom. The phenomenon. The fifth and most liberating shift is the emergence of a profound sense of personal freedom and authenticity. Having navigated decades of social roles and responsibilities as a professional, a parent, a spouse, a community member, the octogenarian is often, for the first time, free from these defining external pressures. This allows for the expression of the true core self. The underlying science. This aligns with Erik Erikson's final stage of psychosocial development, ego integrity versus despair. Ego integrity is achieved through a process of life review, leading to an acceptance of one's life as it was lived, fostering wisdom. According to a 2023 study in the Journal of Gerontology Psychological Sciences, individuals who achieve a high degree of ego integrity display significantly lower levels of social anxiety and a greater congruence between their internal values and external actions. The fear of judgment dissipates, not because of apathy, but because of a deeply integrated sense of self that no longer requires external validation. Strategic adaptation. Consider the documented transformation of an individual who had spent her life in a highly constrained social role. At 82, she began to pursue creative passions and express long-held opinions with a newfound confidence that startled and ultimately delighted her family. She was no longer performing a role, she was living her identity. This final stage is not about becoming selfish, but about becoming genuine. This authenticity makes interactions more meaningful and frees up immense psychological energy previously spent on maintaining a social facade. To embrace this is to give oneself permission to explore, to express, and to live in alignment with the wisdom accumulated over a lifetime. Conclusion: an integrated model of late-life adaptation. These 5 transformations are not disparate events, but an interconnected adaptive process. The realignment of energy enforces a focus on priorities. The refinement of social circles maximizes emotional well-being. The shift in time perspective provides the clarity to choose what is meaningful. The cognitive reorganization provides the wisdom to guide those choices. Together, they culminate in the freedom to live an authentic life. Viewing the 8th decade not as a period of decline, but as a specialized stage of human evolution, offers a powerful and empowering framework for navigating one of the most potentially fulfilling chapters of life.